Well, we're out here at Mounts Creek and getting ready to test out the new jig called the Acrobat. It was gone through some design stages, and it's been catching fish like crazy, but there's been some features that we've had to correct on it. And hopefully today we're going to see if those were successful. Striper season's over, but we just do catch and release, and offers a good opportunity to check out lure styles. The whole idea of the Acrobat jig is to put the lead clear in the back, and I'll show that a separate part of the video. But the main thing is it upsets the balance, so it goes willy-nilly and just walks the dog like nothing you'd ever seen. And that's the big reason for the way that it works. I see some fish boiling over there, so I'm gonna cruise around. I wanted to try it underneath the buzzing cork, but mainly what I've got to test out today is how well the plastic stays in place and doesn't deform, because as with any jerkbait, you really want to have a streamlined bait configuration as possible so that it will do the erratic, call it walk the dog type thing. So I've just got to make a couple of casts with the buzzing cork. Probably really don't need it, but just to see how it does behind it. Started out with the half shank December 2013, and the first cast with that half shank caught a 28-inch striper at Chalkwanity Bay. And so that was kind of an interesting beginning. Filled out on my two stripers, had to release the big one. But in any case, I've been using the half shank for a number of years. Oh, and this particular rod, I'm trying ball bearing swivel, because a lot of times when you use weightless jerk baits, you can get line twist. A lot of guys will do this with, yeah, right off the bat, first cast. Well, this looks good, folks. I think the swivel might be able to do us some good. This is just too easy, but it's a good way to test lures. Get him up away from the others. This guy's got some size. Yeah. Come on, I'm burning daylight. Get in so I can let you go. The issue with the Acrobat was the design was great for attracting fish, but it hid the hook point. Hey, this is a decent fish. Whoa. So the ball bearing swivel can be useful. Come on, I want to be taking more video. Come on in, guy. I've been going down to 10-pound test line with mono. Not really mono, it's a Zuri hybrid, ultra soft. Oh, not under that trolling motor. Come on, I need to get out with some other rigs. Well, one of these days he'll get tired. All right, come on. Let's get this ordeal over with and I'll let you go. probably going to have to net him, bring him in. I usually try to just release him over the side of the boat. Yeah, he's not that big. I wonder if he just, oh, he's hooked on the side. That's the reason. Okay. I hate to see that. Just barely be a keeper. I'll shut this thing off. Okay, that was first cast. Let me get my coat out of the way here. I got 3 different setups for counting the buzzing cork. That different things I want to test out. So far, it appears that everything seems to want to work. And just about any way you fish this is going to work, because I call it the Acrobat because it does so many crazy different things. You can fish it fast or slow, and a lot of times I'll bring it up and break the surface with it. There's one. Yeah. Okay, that's cast number 2, fish number 2. So I think we've cured the hook setup problem. Takes more time messing around getting them in. Most of these are probably late 3rd year class, just barely 18 if they make it. Although that's not too bad of a one. He finally woke up and said, hey, something's wrong here. Now I'm using 15-pound test braid. This is what I suspected would happen as soon as we resolve. Oh yeah, he's a nice one. As soon as we resolve the plugging up the hook gap problem, because out here the other day it was just about at least one bite for every cast. It was just a phenomenal rig. This is kind of unique because we've got incoming tide and we've been fishing on the outgoing tide. Let's see here. Don't want to ruin that jig, so I'm going to hold it like this, maybe. There we go. Just like fishing for largemouth. Yeah, that has solved the problem. He's hybrid. Taxpayers' money. Come on, guy. Away you go. Okay. 2 casts, 2 fish. And that's with the swivel, so that's a good deal. Now I'm going to work it kind of fast, break the surface a little bit. And of course, stripers just go crazy over topwater. And these have been subsurface. Oh, there he went, and he missed it. Huh? Well, there it was, a cast without a fish. Although we did have a fish boil on it. Now, a lot of these are somewhat smaller fish, maybe 15, 16 inches. Like I say, they appear to be 3rd year fish. Yep, there we go. But hitting it all on the subsurface, and that's because of the jerkbait action. The crazy, just think of walking the dog only underwater. And that's a great thing about it. You can use it as a topwater or subsurface. And now with this swivel, as soon as I get this guy released, we'll see how well the system will work for topwater. The weight that I'm using is fairly heavy because I want to have something that's versatile enough to use subsurface, because when I go out after flounder, which is my primary fish, I'm going to want something that will work the grassy banks. Well, this is kind of like taking candy from a baby, but I don't mind doing it. Somebody's got to do it. I think what I'm going to do now is switch to another rig. I should have numbered these poles because I'm testing out something different on each one of them, and now I'm not sure which is which, but I'll remember that. There's the one with the swivel. Let's see, that was 4 casts, and that was 3 fish and 1 missed pickup. So this one here is basically testing if the keeper's going to hold the plastic in the front. And the big difference in what I was between what I'm doing now and was doing the other day is we learned by threading the jig through the top part of the plastic. This is Z-Man 5-inch jerk shad, and it's got the slotted belly for Texas rigging or weedless rigging. And the weight is clear in the back, and that's the secret to the Acrobat. The weight is clear back here. I can pinch right there and feel it. Okay, so I'm going to try this one and see about a little topwater maybe, see how this works. And that is, oh, this is the one that I just put on a 15-pound test. I want to see how far I could cast with 15-pound test Yozuri. Well, that's cast number 5, and that did not produce. Now oh, I see what's happened here. When I spooled it, I didn't get enough distance in there. So anyway, I just want to see if I could get casting distance with the 15-pound test Yozuri compared to the braid. I love braid, it's wonderful stuff, but boy, can you get wind loops. And as windy as it's been the last few years, it's really been a problem. Okay, that is not going to work. The 15-pound test is okay. No, it isn't. Look at that. Okay. This seems to really have a memory, and I just spooled that on. Luckily with mono, or this is a hybrid between mono and fluorocarbon, pretty easy to unloop it. So there, it could have been catching a fish instead of undoing a loop. So I don't know, maybe by using the swivel, maybe I can stay with the braid. Yeah, we'll see. I may just give this one up. So I always have to have extra poles. I think I might just leave this. The other day we had topwater bite until 10 o'clock, and if we'd wanted to, I think we could have stayed and kept catching fish. We're basically doing topwater or just subsurface jigging. Yeah, that's, I think, it. So The jury's out on the 15. Oh no, not right here. Yeah. Okay. Just a little guy. I use the Shimano Symmetry rear drag reel because if you get a big fish, you can just release that. Also, I forgot to turn my iron reverse off, because say if you get a big fish, you can let him do that and not break you off, so you can use a little less than a lower pound test line and still get a big fish in. So, well, get this guy in. Just takes too long to get the fish in. Instead of fishing, I'm releasing. Like Jeff Miles says, you can't run a rig too fast for a striper. They will catch it no matter what. What is happening here is the tide runs, these spring tide runs, are moving the bait fish. Now I'm just streaking this thing, and those hungry stripers are just hammering it. Well, they didn't that time. I should count the casts. The 15-pound test, I think, might have just a little too much memory. The stripers are spread out. They home in on this bridge because all these pilings are just great for structure. But they're spread out. You can see some boils here and there. Let's see if one of those guys is gonna bite. Jury's out on this 15-pound test. What? No fish? Well, the fall rate on this is just slightly faster than a mirror lure, because I purposely put a fair amount of weight in the back because I want to have something that I could fish 3 or 4 foot grassy cut banks and get a fall. The main thing is I wanted the horizontal fall. Okay, so here we go with, this is 10-pound test here. And I turn the anti-reverse off, so if I get a big one, I can just let go of the handle, because boy, a big one will scoot and break your line with its sudden surge, whereas if you can take the time to fight them, there we go. Whoop. Hey, now that was a pickup that I missed. But the other day when we were out here, I'd get about 20 pickups and then a fish. There we go. Huh. Now that one had 2 different pickups. Now I'm just going to let it fall. And this is the difference between the Acrobat and, say, a Spook topwater. The Zara Spook Junior is a great topwater lure, and it breaks the surface and gets them excited and that sort of thing. But it's good to be able to go subsurface, because quite often we've found that even though it's maybe just a few inches below the surface, that can make the difference on whether they'll hit or not. And one of the things I do is I'll cast it out, break the surface, and then let it fall. And when the thing falls, it has a crazy horizontal fall, kind of sachets, and it looks like a bait fish that's been injured. Well, And I'm not changing colors, just keeping it simple, using pearl, 5-inch pearl Z-Man jerk shad. So the system is balanced with a 5-inch Z-Man jerk shad, which is very buoyant. And the weight clear at the back of the hook. I'm using a special hook that is a little longer than most, so I can get the weight clear to the back. And there is a little keeper up in the front that holds the plastic up in the front, because you got to keep everything stretched out. But the Z-Man plastic is very buoyant, much more buoyant than just regular plastic, and way more buoyant than Berkeley Gulp. The half shank was originally designed around the Berkeley Gulp 4-inch minnow, and the first cast with it, Chalkwinity Bay, got a 28-inch striper. And so it's been such an amazing lure. But the fall rate with the Z-Man plastic, totally different, because it's very buoyant. So, yeah, there we go. Okay, I guess we're still recording. Oh, this is a lot of work. Somebody's got to do it. Okay, this is the 10-pound test line, and I'm going to flip that fighting drag off. It feels fair to middling, but I guarantee you, if this is a really big one, a striper, puppy drum, and for that matter, a flounder, can make a tremendous surge. And that's what breaks your line. I know that a lot of people keep their anti-reverse set, but that locks you into the drag. You're depending totally on the drag of a spinning reel. And with a spinning reel, the drag system has to operate 90 degrees from the rotation of the spindle. And so it's not really, really reliable. So these guys are all just kind of out of the same mold. Fun fish. Okay, I just had to stop and see if I'd saved anything. So I'm just going to cast out in open water and scoot this thing, break the surface with it a little bit, see if these fish are out ranging, which I think they are. I saw another boil. Of course, we can always cheat and go right over to the pilings. And if they're not feeding, if there isn't any tide running, and particularly if it's later in the day, then you have to go right into their kitchen and serve them their meal right there. There we go. Okay, I've got a couple of misses, but I don't know if it's because, no, it can't be. There's plenty of exposed hook there. So they're relatively small stripers, and you get a lot of hits and misses. I'm figuring on a deal where I can put a treble hook. There we go. That. It's a lot of fun, but I'm just anticipating going to Rose Bay or Germantown Bay and some of those places and work those grassy cut banks for flounder, because there we go. Come on. they're over in front of these docks, and that makes sense too because there's bait fish stage in there. The mullet has got to be the ultimate for food chain here all through the year, because this crazy mullet stay in just about all winter long. Yeah. Got a little splashing going on there. Come on, get away. When I hook a fish, I like to get them back away from where the others are at. Oh, and I lost him. If you possibly can, because when you're fighting a fish, that gives off vibrations. So this is 10-pound Yuzuri, and I really, really like it. Yeah, they're, ooh, he's coming this way. That line is cutting water. See, now, I think he might be a decent fish. So I was ready to back reel, especially using 10-pound test. No, he just happened to come this way. Yeah, quick release. So a 10-pound Yuzuri, I'm getting plenty of casting distance. There we go. Come on. It seems like sometimes on the surface they're missing it, and I'm more likely, there we go, to get hooked up. If I let it fall a little bit, because they do a better job of gulping it down. These are all pretty much hatchery fish, so it's important to take care of them. It's too bad about the commercial fisheries here. That's taxpayers' money supporting it. Yeah. They're good sporting fish. That is a small one. I doubt if he'll go 16. But yeah, he put up a good fight. Good fish. Oh man, that drove right into the bone, so I'm gonna have to use the pliers to get him out. The little guys will range more than the big ones. Oh, by the way, I use a loop knot. He was not coming loose. Come on, guy, you're taking away my fishing time. Not a very big fish, but a darn good fighter. Well, we've evidently solved the problem on the plastic. So I think it's a go now with this outfit. I got to check the temperature because I don't remember what it is, but it's 70 plus. So it's just about maximum for stripers, and before too long they're going to be moving out into deeper water. But while this is going on, it is a blast. Twitch, twitch, twitch. So besides the bridge, these docks here They've got a lot of action. There was a school there, and I just saw a fish boil right out there. So out in the middle, let's give it a try and see what happens. Break the surface a little bit and then let it fall. Just for kicks and giggles. Stripers and puppy drum are fools for topwater. One of the most enjoyable ways to fish. Get to see the action. But my favorite is flounder of these North Carolina estuary fish. Okay, that's a couple of casts without a fish. We know they're there, and they're holding close to structure. They've really quieted down, can't tell you why. I think these are smaller ones over by these docks, but fish is a fish. Another thing I like about this system, just like the half shank, you can skip it under docks. We'll try one out in the open water again. I've seen some action. Don't know whether that's mullet, if we still have any stripers ranging around. Have not seen any mullet jumping this morning. We've had a cold front come in following the storm last night, which doesn't hurt the stripers a bit, but it does change the feeding pattern. These would be just barely legal. 18 to 22 inch slot. Now that looked like a pure striper. Didn't look like a hybrid, but they are kind of mixed in here. Okay, I gotta check and see if I'm still recording. The 10-pound Yozuri sure seems to be nice to cast. As long as the wind doesn't kick up any more than this, we'll be okay. Now, what I'm doing this time is totally dead sticking, and I just hooked that one a while ago. That was a good fish, Austin. So I'm just letting this thing fall, and then I'll give it a little twitch once in a while. A few small ones. I'm just testing out some lures. They were biting a little earlier, but they've kind of slowed down now.